So last week, the Ethics Commissioner of Canada produced a report on the activities of the chair of the Sustainable Development Technologies Canada, Crown agency charged with distributing money to pre-commercial green technology companies. And that was in response to a letter from Conservatives way back last November asking and seeking for a clarification from the Commissioner on what we knew then. We know a lot more now, but what we knew then. And the shocking part of it, for those who weren't following, was that the chair, the Prime Minister's handpicked chair, was found to have breached ethic laws, the Conflict of Interest Act of Canada, as a public office holder for her private interests, and she improperly furthered those private interests. Now, this meeting, emergency meeting to discuss having some hearings on this, was signed, not only put forward by Conservatives, but signed by both the NDP and the Bloc, to have this as a statement of the urgency of this issue. And just briefly, for those, and why this is important, is that we actually now have the two shocking reports. The first one being the auditor, or the Ethics Commissioner's report on the conduct of the chair on a very small segment of what she did. He dealt with 3 instances, essentially, of conflict where the Auditor General's report that came out in June is even more shocking, because in the case of the chair, it found actually 20 conflicts of interest, and most of those were not examined by the Ethics Commissioner. So that report by the Auditor General found that of a little over $800 million of money, taxpayer money given to green technology companies in the 5 years that she audited, 44%, 186 times directors, 9 directors, Liberal-appointed directors, were found to have had conflicts of interest. 44%. The actual total of those conflicts of interest, the Auditor General reported, is $330 million of the $800 million. And also found that another $58 million, the Auditor General found, was illegally spent outside the parameters of what SDTC was allowed to in their agreements from the Government of Canada. That's almost $400 million of the $800 million was misappropriated or had a conflict of interest when it comes to this situation with the Green Slush Fund. So we are seeking a meeting with the Ethics Commissioner to discuss his findings, and we need to do that quickly because the transition is ongoing of this fund to the NRC right now, and money is starting to be spent again by the slush fund without our ability to still go in and understand the extent to which these funds were abused for insiders on the slush fund that were appointed by the Prime Minister. So we need to get to the bottom of this. So we want to see the Ethics Commissioner before this committee within the next 4 weeks, and we'd like to see as well the subject of this report. Annette Fisherian, the former chair, but the chair who was the subject of this report, also appear to discuss why she thought it was appropriate to, in almost 20 occasions, be in a conflict of interest where her personal financial interests were benefited by her being the chair. The report also mentions an organization called Mars. I think it's important for people to know that the industry department, through the regional development agencies, also funded over the last 5 years $48 million to Mars from the federal taxpayer. $48 million, and guess who the chair of Mars is? It's the same chair that is resigned in disgrace from the Green Slush Fund and the subject of the Ethics Commissioner report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I understand, Mr. Perkins, maybe I've missed it, but you're moving the motion that you've circulated.
Oh, sorry. I should read that in and do that formal part, which is to move the motion that was circulated. And the motion says, given the Ethics Commissioner's Fisherian report finds that the former chair of the Sustainable Development Technologies Canada broke the Conflict of Interest Act. The committee holds 2 meetings within, this says, the earlier one said 2 weeks, but it's now 4 weeks of this motion being adopted, and calls on the following witnesses: the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner, Conrad van Finkelstein, to appear for 2 hours, and former Chair of Sustainable Development Technologies Canada and current Chair of Mars, Annette Fisherian, to appear for 2 hours.
Okay. Thank you.